like to call the April 19th, 2018 meeting of the Sacramento Air Flow Control Agency to order. Madam Clerk, please establish the quorum.
Thank you. Matt Conant.
Here.
Nick Avdis.
Here.
Tom Barandis.
Here.
Bill Paveo.
Here.
Cyril Shaw.
Here.
Angelique Ashby. Jeff Harris.
Here.
Rick Jennings.
Here.
Sue Frost.
Here.
Don Natoli. Susan Peters. Patrick Kennedy. Phil Cerna.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Great. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, I'd like to open it up for public comment on items not on the agenda. I don't have any speaker slips and see no one.
I do not.
Next item.
Our first item would be closed session, and the directors would recess to hearing room 2.
Great. Recess for closed session. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Matt Conant.
Here.
Nick Avdis.
Here.
Tom Barandis.
Here.
Bill Paveo.
Here.
Cyril Shaw.
Here.
Angelique Ashby.
Here.
Jeff Harris.
Here.
Rick Jennings.
Here.
Sue Frost.
Here.
Don Natoli.
Here.
Susan Peters. Patrick Kennedy. Phil Cerna. A full quorum.
Great. Please call the next item.
A report out on closed session government code section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator.
No action was taken.
Thank you. Our next item is consent matters, and before Chair Avdis calls for a motion, I'd like to make you aware that if you received your board packet in any manner other than electronically, you probably received the wrong attachment to item 6, which should have been a project area map for the Yolo Bypass Cache Loop. I have provided you with that. With that being said, items 1 through 8 are in order.
All right. Any questions? Do I have a motion? Yes?
Move the consent calendar. Oh, sorry, go on. I actually would like to pull 5 and 8 for a couple of quick questions.
Okay. Pull items 5 and 8. I'll entertain a motion for the remaining of the
I'll
item.
move the remaining items.
Motion by Member Shaw, second by Member Kennedy. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item number 5, please.
Item number 5, resolution number 2018020, authorizing the executive director to execute a project partnership agreement for construction of the American River Watershed Folsom Dam Raise Project and rescinding resolution number 2018016.
Yes, and my question is just, as I understand, this matter was taken up at the last board meeting, and what's before us today is, let's go forward with that agreement, but without the state being a party to that agreement. Is that accurate?
So we found out that the administration has a new policy that they will no longer fund projects in the construction funding account without a PPA in place. Mm-hmm. The state, we're still going to have our local project participation agreement with the state, so our roles will be exactly the same. But the court determined that if we have 2 sponsors, it's a non-standard model. It has to go all the way up through Washington for approval. If one of us does it, then we can get it done by next month and then be eligible for some work plan funding. So we were able to move quicker than the state, quite frankly, and we're already working on an amendment that will go forward to then put the state back in. But our local project participation agreement spells out the roles between the state and SAFCA. So we end up doing the same thing. It's just this way we're trying to be eligible for funding a little sooner.
Okay, so no additional risk proceeding
No,
without the state. Okay, that was.
I mean, the risks are the feds push everything down that they don't want to deal with to the state, and they push it down to the locals, whether it's through the local participation agreement or the main agreement. So we get all the bad stuff anyway.
Okay, I just wanted to understand that
Yeah.
proceeding without the state doesn't incur any additional risk at this time to SAFCA. It sounds like it doesn't. Very good.
Consent item 5.
I have a motion, second by Mr. Conant. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7. Wait,
Was
we say
it
7? 8, sorry.
Item number 8, resolution number 2018-023, authorizing the executive director to execute amendment number 3 to contract 1338 with Northwest Hydraulic Consultants for technical assistance with erosion and bank protection related issues on the Lower American River.
Yes, and my question on this one was, if I understood the sequence described in the staff report, this was a sole source contract originally for about $160,000, and over time it's now arrived at something approaching almost $1 million contract. And just wanted to understand, is that there were unusual circumstances that led us to $1 million sole source contract, or this is not uncommon, or I just wanted a better context for how we got to an almost $1 million sole source contract.
Gary Bardini, I'm the planning director with the SAFCA. This, what's before you today is essentially an amendment for specific work related to essentially what we have as a bank protection work group and we'll call it Lower American River Bank Task Force. And we have a technical task force. The beginning of this work, as you can see, was started in 2016. It was under that premise. And as time has gone on, additional work has been gone. What we have is the intent was essentially to do the work, and then as time has gone on and the relationships have been built and then additional tasks and work have gone, that's why it's grown to the level we're at. To go further, the current work is to further the conceptual drawings, and this consultant has the expertise and background, so that's why we've continued to use.
Okay. At some point, does the work grow over time to the point where let's rebid this
Exactly.
out? Okay. All right. I'm satisfied.
All right, is that a motion?
It is.
Second by Mr. Conant. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, before we go to the next item on, I just want to make a quick note. Number 2, Mr. Campbell, I would appreciate that this is having to do with the Rio Alberta Parks and Rec District contract for weed abatement and trash removal. I know I've received a couple of, I don't want to say complaints, but inquiries about their, that they could be a little faster in responding when constituents call. So I would appreciate if you could sort of reach out to those folks in Rio and appreciate their partnership, but would encourage them to be a little bit more responsive.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. We'll be happy to work with our partners and our contract, within our contract means, to make sure that we're working with them to make that happen.
Thank you. A little out of order there, but in any event, next item, please.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
punched up. I wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, on a related point on item 2, I didn't talk before we took the consent calendar. I guess I wanted to ask about that. I think certainly Chair Avis's points being made maybe highlight what I was going to ask about, because we have basically up to a certain amount here as it relates to this contract. And when I see it touched upon lightly in the staff report on the scope of services, it relates to homeless encampments and debris removal. We talk about high water and so forth, but having taken a tour of some of the areas, not all the way up on the Dry Creek Parkway, but certainly with our Parks Director, and I know Director Cern and others certainly are very familiar on a regular basis with areas that are adjacent to, certainly to the American River Parkway, but include the Dry Creek Parkway, which is in Supervisor Frost's district, a good portion of it. I guess I'm curious about maybe an enhanced approach, rather than just saying for high water purposes. We have just $40,000 set aside. We haven't used it, I guess, in recent years. It seems to me that some calculation behind, removal of trash, more timely maybe, but and maybe again paying for those services. We're only taking 20 hours a week here. From what I've seen in some other areas, not necessarily the areas they're maintaining, you can spend 20 hours every day and hardly make a dent in it. And so And it may not be that prevalent further up in the parkway, but I know that in our conversations before the Board of Supervisors in past months, we've talked about the need to catch this on both of our parkways, American River and certainly in Dry Creek Parkway, and obviously Steelhead Creek, and working with the City of Sacramento and other partners, American River Flood District, already 1,000, who all obviously are trying to come to grips with this. I guess I'd like to take a look at this, and certainly working with the Park District, maybe we buy some more services and forget about the high water piece of this, that, I think recognize if there is a problem, I don't want to overstate it if this is keeping up with it and there's just a matter of getting to it a little quicker, but maybe there's more to that, and I want to make sure our partners are equipped. We've gone into recently with major expenditure of the county for equipment, for additional personnel, also working with law enforcement if need be. And so I don't know what sort of coordination besides what we say in this contract that they provide for and then bill us for. So I guess I want to raise a little broader question. I'm supportive of what we just did, but I'm also interested, again, for Safeco being a partner in all of this for the areas that we have that we want protected and looked out for, beyond just mowing for weeds and some, debris removal from time to time. Maybe there's something more intense that will allow us to, work with other partners that are already engaged in this activity out there. So, without a long discussion, I just want to raise that point, and I see others that maybe punched up already, but I wanted to be sure that we've got sufficient dollars here and that we have sufficient support for what we're asking our partners to do.
Mr. Cerna?
Thank you. I appreciate Director Natoli raising this issue, and so let me, and he's certainly right, our office is very engaged on the subject of debris removal and how we're working with an expanding ranger force to deal with the challenge of camping on the parkway and its impacts. There is, I think it's fair to say at this point, let's say compared to 2 years ago, almost every agency to a name, RD1000, Safeco, City of Sacramento, County of Sacramento, park districts that straddle the parkways. I think everyone has a heightened sensitivity and desire to do more, and it's been painful at times to try and find the resources to do it, but that part of it is behind us, at least for the county. And so this really is the year that we begin to see the fruit of the policy debates and budget debates of last year, with the deployment of more county personnel to maintain the parkway and to patrol the parkway. So I guess my finer point question here is there any coordination to the point where there are regular meetings between a touch point from each of those agencies I just mentioned on at least a monthly basis, so that the left hand knows what the right hand's doing, where you're going to be in the parkway, what's the focus this week, what stretch, which mile markers are you working, are you Steelhead Creek, are you on the parkway proper, those types of things. And if there isn't, I would like to suggest that it begin immediately.
Okay. No, I don't think the coordination is that extensive. So that's a good point there. So I'm wondering, should we have some follow-up meetings with you guys, and then we can make sure we get the right coordination going?
We're pulling 20 to 25 tons a day of refuse out of the parkway right now. That's how bad the problem is.
I'd actually like to echo those comments. I know, Mr. Campbell, we had spoken about this issue. I had hoped in the near future to bring it as a separate discussion item, but since the discussion did bring itself up, I do think there's an opportunity, because there are overlapping jurisdictions and there is some overlap in what we're doing. Certainly that's the case at RD1000, and I've asked our general manager to work with other agencies. Certainly we're a small reclamation district, and certainly would like to lend our participation in a collaborative effort to address these issues uniformly, so there isn't, duplication of activities and expenses, and I think there is something to that, so I would encourage that as well. All right.
We'll get a meeting set up, and then we can make sure we get all the right people.
Mr. Harris?
Okay.
I just wanted to echo those comments from the city side, and I think a collaborative approach is definitely called for. As Mr. Cerna pointed out, pretty much every jurisdiction is pulling out an inordinate amount of tonnage, the city included, and so if we all get on the same page, I think we'll have greater results. And as far as the remaining sum in this contract, perhaps we could use that to advantage as well. So I'd look forward to that meeting.
All right, thank you, everyone. Next item, please.
Item number 9, separate matters, Resolution 2018024, adoption of addendum number 1 to the final environmental impact report on the Natomas Levee Improvement Program, Phase 4B Land Site Improvements Project, and approval of modifications to the project.
Mr. Johnson, and thank you for making the meeting. I know you had a tight flight, tight
Yes.
connection, so
I
appreciate your dedication.
I was flying through Chicago, so when I heard about all the flight cancellations, I was a little worried. So, okay, so this item 9 here is the board has adopted EIRs in the past on the Natomas project. The Corps is getting ready to do some work up on Reach D, and there's been some changes in the project description from what was done in the original EIR. Basically, we're going to be, some of the changes include removing some of the old pumping plant items that are in the levees or near the levees, modifying pumping plant 4 to go up and over the pipe instead of through the levee, and then we're not moving the Vestal drain out as far from, it's only going 250 feet out instead of the 400 feet. So these are changes which require us to do additional analysis. The proposed changes are all within the footprint that was previously looked at. And so I think the addendum we in there have demonstrated that the changes are all with the mitigation that has already been identified. All the changes are essentially the same as were provided originally. So we just want to make sure we have our CEQA coverage for the work that the Corps is going to be doing, and we've been covering it with this addendum. So take any additional questions if there's anything specific that needs to be asked.
Any questions? Mr. Harris is from last time. Oh, there you go. There we go. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Natoli, Mr. Harris, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, Executive Director's report, or I guess the next item, please.
Executive Director's report.
Okay, so can you get that full?
Oh,
There you go, thank you. So while we're talking to Natomas, I'll give you the latest update. Reach D, the Corps has went out to bid under the Small Business Administration program. They opened the bids in March, and the low bid was around $24 million, which was right about what the government estimate was at. They did have one bid protest to the Small Business Association claiming that the low bidder did not meet the qualifications of participating in a Small Business Association. The SBA has 15 working days to decide on that. The Corps is expecting to be able to move forward on May 4th if the SBA holds up that the low bidder was eligible. Then they can go ahead and award to them. The second low bidder was a little bit more, but still within the range that they could award. So there's still going to be an award in May one way or the other. So at least we finally got one that we think is going to get past it and be able to move forward a little bit. Now, on Reach I, Contract 1, that's the one down on the lower end along the Garden Highway. As you know, the Corps has tried several times with several different protests. So they've gone to a different contracting mechanism. They are in the process now. They've put out the notice to have contractors solicit information from contractors to pre-qualify them to do slurry wall work. And once they get a qualified pool, then they'll go out for low bid from that point. So once the pool is set, then it really will eliminate a lot of the things that they've been protesting on. They hope to have the low bid back in July, And the goal is to be able to get construction started on the seepage blanket under I-5 this year, and then the slurry wall work would be in 19. So,
According to your list, they got 90 years to figure out whether you got a pre-qualified, you got a typo on the
90 years,
2108.
well, I hope that's a typo and not...
Hopefully they can figure it out.
I hope that wasn't a foreshadowing there. But,
Hopefully not.
Yeah, thanks. I'll fix that.
Florida government moves slow, but I don't think that's slow. So.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So then on Reach H, that one, the protest is taking a long time. They're still working through it. They're still hoping to get something awarded this year, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not expecting it. So I think our best that we'll have is to work up along Reach D, and then hopefully we'll get later in the summer a seepage blanket going along the under I-5. They are currently planting 5,000 seedlings of trees. So at the mitigation site along there. So that is going on right now. Okay, changing gears a little bit. In February, the Congress passed the supplemental appropriations. It was an emergency supplemental. They gave over $15 billion to the Corps to advance flood risk reduction. A little over $10 billion of that was for the states that were hit by the hurricanes last year, the 3 hurricanes. But they also gave almost $5 billion for states that have had 1 or more flood disasters declared since 2014, which California is one of those states. And so we've been working real hard in DC trying to make sure that we are being fully considered for some of those. The administration wants to fully fund projects so as not to have a partially completed project that would leave an obligation on future budgets. So that's a little bit to our disadvantage since our projects are so big, but we still feel that we should have some in this. The other thing that's good about this is it's usually the federal government appropriates funds for that year and they have to be used that year. These funds are there until they're spent. So the Corps had 60 days to assign them from February, but they're not going to make that, as it's already passed. So what they're doing is, last month on March 23rd, Congress did pass the appropriations bill for 18. They did give the Corps a bunch of money, about $360 million in flood. Now, I put up on the chart here what was in the 18 appropriations bill for us. You can see there's not a lot. That was what was in the president's budget, but they did add another $360 million for work plan. They gave them 60 days for March 23rd. We understand the Corps is combining the work plan for 18 and the supplemental, so they'll both be coming out hopefully next month, and we are hoping we get a bump on all of our projects on that one. So just wanted to make you aware of those opportunities that are out there, and we're putting a lot of resources into trying to get funding as part of those. And then I just got back from cap to cap. There's really not a lot I was going to report today. I'll give a written report in my next one there. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Seeing none, thanks, Rick, and appears some promise on the horizon and on the funding front. So,
thank you.
All right, next item.
The next items are receive and file.
All right, great. We're adjourned.